Sir, how much money does Bell Media or CTV News receive in annual subsidies from Justin Trudeau's Liberal government?
Unlike the CBC, CTV nor CTV News receive any subsidies from the government. In fact, we're required to spend at least 30% of our annual revenue each year, which amounts to $1.2 billion since 2011 on Canadian programming expenditures. At the same time as all of this, we are losing $185 million a year on our television operations, including a loss of $40 million on news alone.
So CTV hasn't received any regulatory relief or no wage relief in the last 9 years. Is that your contention?
We receive no subsidies from the government.
The question was regulatory relief or subsidies for wages in the last 9 years?
So there was a decision made by the federal government recently that amounted to having a $40 million impact on Bell Media, but it was not a subsidy. It was, in fact, the elimination of a tax on our revenues that had existed since 1997.
$40 million in regulatory relief. I will skip ahead of you, and $122 million in subsidies for wages. So I want to talk about, pardon me?
The $40 million was not a subsidy.
Sir, you're correcting something that I didn't say. So let's just get off on the right foot here. I referred to it as regulatory relief. $40 million in regulatory relief. Did you receive $40 million in regulatory relief?
We received $40 million in relief through the elimination of a tax.
Okay. So I have a sense of how this is going to go. So let's go. We've seen a lot of examples of CTV activism masquerading as journalism. And I want to give you a couple examples of that. On May 29th of this year, you published a story that was titled, "Poilievre Panned for Video Saying Canadians Fleeing for Nicaragua." Now, of course, this story was about the leader of the opposition talking to Canadians who are suffering after 9 years of a government whose economic vandalism has made it all but impossible for millions of Canadians to survive here. But on April the 2nd, just days later, when RBC releases a report on housing trends and affordability, toughest time ever to afford a home as soaring interest costs keep raising the bar, again detailing the results of 9 years of life under the NDP Liberals, we don't see that. We don't see a story. I don't have a story to offer you from CTV on that, which speaks to the experience that Mr. Poilievre had related about those Canadians. And then, of course, we have the most recent example of the blatant disinformation spread by your network. This disinformation that was perpetrated on Canadians was spread on across your platforms, where instead of the message that Mr. Poilievre had given, which is what we hear from millions of Canadians, and that's the need for a carbon tax election when Canadians can't afford to eat, heat, or house themselves.
You're having such problems today.
You altered that quote from Mr. Poilievre into one that reflected talking points from Justin Trudeau's Prime Minister's office. So we wouldn't know about that most recent case if you weren't called out by a Conservative staffer. And you said you're sorry, but we know that you're sorry that you're only sorry that you got caught. Isn't that right?
I disagree with your characterization.
So are you sorry?
We have apologized twice for a mistake that occurred. We have
back and reviewed all of your coverage of Mr. Poilievre and his discussions about the Trudeau Liberals' carbon tax on everything that they plan to, of course, quadruple, raising the price of gas to 60 cents a litre. That's seen 1 in 4 Canadians not know where their next meal is coming from. Food bank use skyrocket to records never seen before in this country. Have you gone back and reviewed all of your coverage of Mr. Poilievre, or will it be incumbent on Conservatives to have to go through and review historically the disinformation that CTV has perpetrated on Canadians, or Or is that something that CTV is going to proactively do? Because I can assure you, sir, that going forward, we know that we now need to do this not just for ourselves, but for Canadians, because certainly the trust has been broken.
I want to give Mr. Grayson a chance to answer that, Mr. Barrett. Go ahead.
So thank you. I disagree with the characterization that we are engaged in a campaign of disinformation with respect to Canadians. It's our job to present all sides of public policy issues in a balanced, accurate, and fair way so Canadians can make informed decisions on them. That's what we do consistently on a daily basis. This particular issue that happened on September the 22nd,
sir,
was a very rare and unique occurrence.
Well, I'd be interested to know how you I would be interested to know how you verified that it was rare if you didn't go back and review all of the other instances of coverage. Like I said, I'd like you to tell us now, though, do you think it's appropriate for other media organizations that have criticized that Conservatives called out this disinformation when you yourself admitted that you were wrong? The question is, do you think it is appropriate for other media outlets to have criticized this disinformation having been called out?
Quick response, please, Mr. Gray.
It's not for me to suggest how other media outlets operate. My job is to manage CTV News.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Barrett. Thank you, Mr. Gray.